Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Just a Spanish Phrase.
The companion podcast to News in Slow Spanish, where instead of helping you learn Spanish by discussing current events, we take a little detour and analyze the Spanish expressions that we love so much. They show up all the time in our other podcast, News in Slow Spanish, and they're kind of like a little bit of flavor in language, and they all have interesting origin stories, and that's what we look at in here. Just
And
a Spanish phrase.
Native speakers of a language are always amazed and grateful when somebody who's using that language as a second language uses an idiomatic expression.
Oh,
It's
it's
always like,
awesome.
wow, how do you know that? But today we have what I think is one of the most interesting origins of a phrase, because I had no idea the expression of today, meter la pata, came from such a weird place. But
So weird. We went down a real rabbit hole for this one. But before we get to that, meter la pata, literally translated to stick your foot in it.
yeah, it's like to mess up.
Yes, that's what it means, to mess up. Or also when it's referring to saying something out of place or tactless, making a remark that is really, really inappropriate or that you shouldn't have made, then we say in English that you put your foot in your mouth, which still involves a foot and putting it somewhere, but in this case, your
Or
mouth.
it's like committing a faux pas, which is a very common experience for us immigrants. Every time we start our life in a new culture, we always make faux pas.
Yeah, which is a French expression, which also involves feet because it's about a missed step, right? A misstep.
Yes, exactly. And so, Renzo, the example I have is a little bit dark, but when I was thinking of examples of how can we use meter la pata, I don't know why I thought to this anecdote that I read about ages ago, but it stuck in my mind. And it's about when companies meten la pata when it comes to marketing. And so
Oh,
this is a bit, because nowadays you cannot talk about a topic or think about any topic without immediately after you go on your social media and you see an ad for that.
I can think
Right?
of many famous examples of publicity campaigns that missed the mark. Metieron la pata. Which one are you thinking of?
Well, this one is a little bit darker because it was a testimony from a woman who said, I was pregnant and all I kept receiving was marketing emails for, you are in month 1, you're in month 2,
Oh
baby is
no.
coming, month 9. Unfortunately, the baby was born stillborn. And she said it was excruciatingly painful. Years, still 5 years after that experience, she still received marketing content saying, your baby is now 2, your baby is now
Oh,
3. So I wonder why companies that are so good at knowing every single private detail of our lives cannot tell that the baby wasn't born and show some respect for the grief of that mother. It
that's a real big screw up. Metieron la pata.
Yes, in
Yeah.
a big time. I mean, you can use it as an informal way, but this is a big one.
Yeah, big screw up. Okay, a slightly lighter example, but really recently, Boston Marathon happened recently, the oldest marathon in the country, I found out. And Nike had an advertisement in Boston on Newberry Street that said, "Runners welcome, walkers tolerated."
Oh,
And of course, it ruffled some feathers, metieron la pata, because the marathon has hundreds of disabled participants
or slow.
or
I
people
know
that walk. Exactly.
Boston Marathon is like the Everest, the Mount Everest for runners, because qualifying for the Boston Marathon is very, very difficult.
Yes.
You need to have run several marathons, or you need to participate in a charity. So it's generally very good runners from all over the world. It's like, oh, you ran you qualified for Boston. That's amazing.
Yes. A lot of prestige.
Yes. But those runners who are participating because they might be slow runners or they might be even mix of walk and run for a charity, and There was a Venezuelan guy, very famous. He has cerebral palsy, and he walked the entire marathon, and he completed it in like many hours. I remember they waited for him like at 2 a.m. It was like painful, but very inspiring.
Yeah.
So he's a walker. So that was a very bad ad to say.
A lot of people got very offended by it. And to Nike's credit, as soon as they got all that bad feedback, they admitted that metieron la pata, they screwed up, and they took down the billboard. I think it was a billboard. But yeah, that's another example of meter la pata. So why the foot, and where are you putting it? Porque meter la pata means to screw up.
So before you tell the real origin, I'll tell you which one is one of the possible origins.
Yes, please.
I thought it was the one. And it comes when animals are in the forest and there's traps set for them. If the animal puts the paw in the trap, metió la pata, now he messed up because now he's trapped.
Yeah, so that's it for the animal in most cases.
It made sense that the expression, I thought, came from that.
I thought that too. My whole life I went thinking meter la pata means, well, you put your foot in it and now you're in trouble. And that brings up the image of that trap, those horrible like steel traps that clamp down on that. Yeah.
Or you put a foot in the puddle and now you're like, you messed up your entire day because your foot is all wet.
Because your foot is wet for the rest of the day. But it turns out that there are other possible origins for this. And one in particular is really, really fascinating. That's the one that you were talking about, the weird origin. But before we get to that, I have to mention pata, because there's a distinction here. Pata en lugar de pierna o pie. Pierna meaning leg, pie meaning foot. Pata usually is used to talk about an animal foot.
Yeah, a human doesn't have patas.
Right. And if you
say pata,
has
pies.
Exactly. If you say that a human has pata, you're using it as a joke or as a critic, like, you're kind of an insult, because it's an animal body part.
Or in Venezuela, at least, when a person gets pregnant outside of marriage, they say metió la pata.
Yeah, okay. But so pata implying animal is important here because there is a figure, a very famous character in our popular culture, in our religious lore. You may know about the devil.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Okay, well, the devil, and especially in Catholic or Christian tradition, is often depicted as having not legs, but
patas, of course.
Patas, hooves specifically. So, why bringing up the devil? Well, it turns out that meter la pata may have evolved from another phrase that was referencing the devil.
Patente? How is it? How was the devil called?
So the phrase is mentar a pateta, specifically no mentar a pateta. We're talking old Spanish.
Mentar means to mention.
Yes.
And pateta was the devil.
Pateta in Spain, a long time ago, in some places, was the name for the devil, which may have to do with the fact that the devil had hooves instead of legs. But anyway, pateta was the devil. No mentar a pateta was the warning that people would give.
No mentar a pateta, because you're speaking of the devil. You bring bad luck to yourself.
Exactly. Don't mention the devil because you're going to
mess up.
And that, over time, mentar a pateta evolved. Mentar to meter, pateta to pata. So don't mention the devil became don't put your foot in it.
So, mentar a pateta became meter la pata.
And hopefully, I didn't just give myself a whole week's worth of bad luck by mentar la pateta so much. But thank you for listening to Just a Spanish Phrase.
And we'll see you next week. Adios.